So the $63 billion company Stripe, which is the largest fintech company in the world, has just done a Bitcoin backflip. Now, as you can see, they dwarf any other fintech company in the world. They are literally bigger than everyone, which I think is fascinating, but they aren't the only ones doing a backflip on Bitcoin. This chart here is showing you the chart of the Bitcoin whales who are accumulating Bitcoin. And as you can see, something kind of changed in the beginning of 2024. This number has gone absolutely parabolic. So today I want to be talking about all of the billionaires who are getting into Bitcoin and why you need to be paying attention, because the mainstream media isn't showing you all of the bullish things happening in Bitcoin. But what we do know is the price of Bitcoin just quietly pumped 20% last week as Germany sold all of its Bitcoin. So let's begin this story at the very beginning, okay? So as we can see, Stripe is bigger than every fintech company that you want to look at. Robinhood, they absolutely dwarf them. SoFi, again, Stripe is a really, really, really big company. Now, the news came in this week, as we can see here, $65 billion payments giant Stripe to launch Bitcoin purchases across Europe. As we can see, this is the app, super clean, very nice, very user-friendly. Now, what's interesting about this is because Stripe kind of has an interesting story with Bitcoin. And I've done some digging, and I've got a big, long chronological history of Stripe's involvement in Bitcoin and crypto. It's a little bit strange, but you can see here, in 2018, Stripe actually put this blog post out. It was titled, "Ending Support for Bitcoin." Now, this is in 2018. Now, the reason why this is interesting is because Stripe has had support for Bitcoin for a very, 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 very long time. Now, this article here has the chronological timeline that I want to show you, okay? Because Stripe has kind of been involved with Bitcoin in a very big way for a very long time. So again, let's start with the news. Recently, the company announced it would let customers accept crypto payments, starting with just one currency in particular. This was USDC stablecoins, initially only on Solana, Ethereum, and Polygon, okay? Now, this announcement came in April 2024. So this is about 2 to 3 months ago now. Stripe said, look, we haven't accepted Bitcoin or any cryptos in 6 years. We're going to get back into crypto, but we're only going to be getting back into USDC on Solana, Ethereum, and Tron, okay? This was 2 to 3 months ago. But again, look at how quickly things have changed, because we do know yesterday they came out and they said, look, we're actually going to be launching Bitcoin purchases. So they're not just facilitating payments. They're actually enabling their customers to buy Bitcoin purchases. It's big, okay? Let's continue reading on to kind of see what shifted and what changed in Stripe's wording and, you know, their Bitcoin journey, so to say. We can see in 2022, Stripe re-entered the crypto market when it announced payouts, but not payments, in USDC, as they were kind of partnering up with Twitter. Anybody who's monetized on Twitter will know that you have to do that through Stripe. But let's go back in time, okay? We can see here in 2014, Stripe actually launched its first efforts into quote unquote testing on Bitcoin, the first big cryptocurrency. But 4 years later in 2018, they pulled out of that and they said Bitcoin was too volatile and unstable. Over the past year or two, as block size limits have been reached, Bitcoin has evolved to become better suited to being an asset that's being a means of exchange, the company said in its announcement. Stripe said in 2018, again, this has led to Bitcoin becoming less useful for payments, okay? So pretty early on, Stripe was actually more educated than the big blockers. In 2018, Stripe said, look, we have massive transaction fees. Bitcoin's probably better to be used more as an asset. Doesn't mean it's not used as a medium of exchange. I use it as a medium of exchange all the time. But at that time in 2018, the Lightning Network was still in beta, okay? It was still very early. It was still very, 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 very early and very experimental, okay? Today, that is not the case. Today, the Bitcoin Lightning Network is being used by nation states all around the world as these Bitcoin peer-to-peer economies pop up all over the world, okay? Not only is El Salvador using it with a full-scale legal tender implementation, but you have lots of other countries where you have big peer-to-peer economies springing up, okay? You have a Bitcoin beach in Brazil. You have a Bitcoin jungle in Costa Rica. Honduras has a little Bitcoin project, Prosper. We obviously have Madeira. Pam and I went to Madeira earlier in the year. They've got a thriving Bitcoin ecosystem. Even in Switzerland, there's Bitcoin City in Loguano. So again, all of these big peer-to-peer economies processing lots of transactions are utilizing the Bitcoin Lightning Network, okay? The Lightning Network is no longer a beta, which is potentially why Stripe has gotten back into the game. Well, let's have a look, because we can see they've always been interested in digital currencies, because in 2019, Stripe actually became one of the founding members of Libra, okay? For those who don't remember, Libra was the cryptocurrency project that Mark Zuckerberg kind of created in Facebook, okay? Facebook was going to try and launch this coin. It was going to be backed by US dollars as well as lots of other foreign currencies around the world, until he was very, very swiftly hauled in front of US Congress and he was grilled, essentially. I've actually got another video planned for you guys in the future, looking at why 5 of the top 21s of the world's most richest people are getting balls deep into Bitcoin. And one of those is of course, Mark Zuckerberg, okay? So this is interesting. This is big. This is a massive development. We're going to talk about Zuckerberg a little bit more in detail in a future video. But we can see, like Bitcoin, Stripe kind of pulled out of Libra very quickly. So in June 2019, they got into Libra. They became a founding member. But in October 2019, Stripe, along with others, dropped support for Facebook's efforts. They said, Stripe is supportive of projects that aim to make online commerce more accessible for people around the world. Libra has this potential, but they said we will follow its progress closely and remain open to working with the Libra Association at a later date. So that is essentially a breakup. Yeah, you know, you're cool, you're cute, but we might work with you in a future date. That's how Stripe broke up with Libra back in 2018. In the same way, they broke up with Bitcoin in 2018. But guess what? They're back. They're back into Bitcoin. And I think this is really, really big for adoption. And as we've kind of talked about, they're not the only ones getting back into Bitcoin. Okay, before I show you that chart again, we can see this is how big Stripe is. $65 billion company, and they process $1 trillion in payment volume in 2023. This is really, really, really big. Okay, absolutely massive. So again, pay very, 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 very close attention to everything that Stripe is doing. Okay, Stripe is doing some big, big things. But they're not the only ones who are getting into Bitcoin in a big way. So this chart here, I'm going to try and make it as big as possible. You can see this is showing you the new wallets that hold more than 1,000 Bitcoin. Okay, so these include the spot Bitcoin ETFs, but they also include custodial wallets. Okay, now this excludes exchanges and miners. So this chart filters out a little bit of the noise, because we do know there can be a little bit of noise with, you know, exchange transfers and things like that, which is why I think it is so jaw-dropping. Have a look at that parabolic increase beginning in 2024. Now, what I do think is interesting though, we can actually see that this was kind of trending higher all throughout 2022, 2023, when there was no hype of the Bitcoin spot ETFs. We could see a significant uptick in the balance of new wallets over 1,000 Bitcoin. So these are new whales entering the space. It's been slowly increasing in a pretty big way. Okay, and then it went absolutely parabolic in early 2024 when the ETFs got brought online. Okay, now speaking of the ETFs, I have a lot of data I want to show you on the ETFs. I also even have a really cool little graphic that I want to show you guys. So I'm not sure if this has audio or not. I'm going to try my best, but I want to play it for you because it really puts into perspective how parabolic things can get for Bitcoin when things get moving. This is a history of Bitcoin. Okay, so that was a pretty parabolic chart. I think that's a reminder to people of just how parabolic things could get in the future, because Bitcoin is about to do some big things. I'm about to be showing you some data, showing you just how big things could get for Bitcoin as I think we do enter this next wave of Bitcoin ETF accumulation. Before we get there and before we look at that data, I wanted to give an absolutely massive shout out to our lead sponsor, Rhino Bitcoin. Okay, for those who don't know, Rhino Bitcoin is essentially combining the best bits of the traditional financial services with the power of Bitcoin. So created by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners, Rhino offers a range of services. You can buy Bitcoin, you can sell Bitcoin, you can withdraw straight to cold storage, and you can even pay other people using the Lightning Network. So you can also purchase gift cards with sats at the click of the button, and you can even connect to Casa for multi-signature security. Okay, so you can even send cash globally to family and friends, and soon you'll even be able to pay bills, borrow money, and save Bitcoin for your retirement, all in one seamless, secure app. Okay, so visit rhinobitcoin.com to download Rhino today and experience the future of Bitcoin banking. Okay, Rhino's doing some really, really impressive things in the space. So I definitely recommend you guys check them out. Now, speaking of checking out really impressive things in the space, before we get into that ETF data, I want to answer this question here by Dan M. So Dan says, do you have a Madeira review on your Nomad channel? Has there been analysis done on there? So I've actually, firstly, Madeira is an incredible country. In regards to Bitcoin adoption, it's still not quite as, penetrated, so to say, as El Salvador is with Bitcoin adoption. Bitcoin adoption in El Salvador is absolutely massive, but Madeira is definitely moving and trending in the right direction. It's doing all the right things, okay, which is massive. And there is going to be a Madeira review, not only a Bitcoin review, but also a digital nomading review over on my digital nomading channel, okay? Because you ask, I may as well give it a quick plug. For those who don't know, all of the videos that I make talking about residencies and passports and citizenships and saving tax dollars by becoming a digital nomad, I've got a completely separate channel for all of that stuff. All the reasons why I'm going to renounce my Australian citizenship, why I'm working on my my Argentinian citizenship. I talk about all of that on my nomading channel. So that is the two digital nomads on the run. So to answer your question, Dan, there will be a full review coming on that channel. So stay tuned. Now, McLovin says, I'm more likely to forget to put pants on before I leave my house than forget to hit the like button. Thank you so much, McLovin. There's 915 of you guys in here, so we would appreciate a little sneaky slap of the like button. I believe that actually helps push the video out in front of more eyeballs. And that's what we need. I mean, there's so few Bitcoin-only content out there. And I'm still shocked at how little interest there is in Bitcoin on Google search trends, considering Bitcoin's at an all-time high. We're going to talk about that in a future video, okay? So Carlos, first time in the chat. Welcome, my friend. Johnny Midas, I don't think he's missed a live stream. Johnny's in every live stream. Okay, so let's move on. Let's have a look at the ETF data that I think is really interesting. So we can see here, invest answers. Again, I like the tweet. I don't like anything else he says. I want to be careful, and I'm not giving anyone a platform. I just like this chart. Invest Answers actually says that we're in that third stage of Bitcoin ETF accumulation. We're seeing a big uptick in the amount of Bitcoin being bought by these Bitcoin spot ETFs, which is massive because a lot of people said, look, these ETFs, they're going to paper hand their Bitcoin. They're not going to hold their Bitcoin when Bitcoin crashes, and it did crash. Bitcoin crashed 20% over the past couple of weeks. Germany, the fourth largest nation state in the world, just dumped how many Bitcoin? 50,000 Bitcoin. And if you have a look at this chart right here, I really like this little curl upwards at the very end of this chart. Bitcoin ETF holdings have just hit a new all-time high, and we've seen massive inflows last week. We saw 6,500 Bitcoin bought on July 16th. We saw 4.7 thousand Bitcoin bought on July 15th. Massive inflows. Those inflows are 10 times the daily amount of Bitcoin that's issued every single day and paid to the miners. Okay, we have 450 Bitcoin mined a day. And as we can see, the ETFs are gobbling up way more than that, which is big. It's really massive. This is why just not everyone is bullish enough on what's happening right now in Bitcoin. We can see here some more bullish news. This is more of a little bit of a bullish news wrap up, so to say. You guys know we don't typically like to just read the news headlines. Lots of other channels do that. We like to try to deliver what we think is the more consequential news in short, sharp 15-minute videos. And we can see here, but this is interesting because I'm seeing a lot of bullish developments happen this week. And Bitcoin's just above 60K, which is interesting. So Bitcoin ETFs to be approved at major wirehouses and large bank platforms in the third quarter and the fourth quarter of this year. And that headline came from Alliance Bernstein. That's massive. Of course, guess who else is massive? Mr. 100. He's still accumulating Bitcoin. He's going out there. He's still buying. And as we can see, the Bitcoin spot ETFs are also buying more and more Bitcoin every single day. Okay. Again, I think price is the biggest lagging indicator. There's so much going on in the Bitcoin space that is incredibly bullish today. And it just looks like every day there's another massive announcement like this. Stripe, a $60-odd billion company, has just gotten into Bitcoin in a really, really big way. They're allowing Bitcoin purchases. This is massive. Again, I think a lot of people are starting to come around to the fact that Bitcoin's here to stay. Bitcoin's going to be a really big thing. The only thing a lot of people are still left wondering is, how much Bitcoin do I need to retire? How much Bitcoin do I need to get rich? I know there's a lot of people who think that. So for those people, we did recently put out a video. It was an interview with fellow Luke, another Australian, a different Luke, and we tried to answer the question looking at how much Bitcoin you're going to need to get rich in the future and how much Bitcoin you're going to need to retire on, okay? So I think it's an interesting topic. I have another video coming for you guys on that topic in the very, very short future. But with all that said, guys, thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. I might go ahead, leave this live stream here. If you enjoyed the video, share it around, smash a like on the video. We appreciate all of the love and we appreciate everybody tuning in. We got such a lively chat. So enjoy the rest of your day, guys. I'll see you in a future live stream.